Today, businesses are in very competitive environment. Organizations need approach to help set up the strategic target as well as set up the plan. Road mapping has been widely used in many organizations to do that such purpose. My name is Nattasit Kersi. I'm the faculty from College of Management, Mahidol Universities. Road mapping is a concept which has been recently applied in many organizations. It's a concept to help organizations set up the strategic target, try to identify what are the reasons driving those strategic targets. So basically, developing a roadmap, we need to address these three issues. Setting up what are the proper strategic target for the organizations. Second, why we need to set that such a target. And the third one, how do we achieve that target. We have discovered that for the organization to develop roadmap, it's quite challenging. Not only to develop the roadmap, but also once the organization have the roadmap. So my practice and my research drive into dimensions. The first dimension is focusing on how can we operationalize the process of roadmap development. And the second dimension, we focus on how can we implement the roadmap effectively. Now let's assume that we already have the roadmap. The roadmap that we have, it's a result of what has been identified at this given time. But once the times go by, for example, 6 months or a year, so many things happened. Some of the issue may not have been identified at the time the roadmap being developed. So basically, the process of maintaining the roadmap need to be monitored. Whether the changing of the outside conditions have the effect. So with that, we try to develop mechanisms to help organizations to be able to monitor the status of the roadmap once the roadmap has been developed. If the development plans can achieve faster, then the roadmap may need to be adjusted sooner. So how can we monitor the development status? We use technology readiness level. So basically, at the time we develop the roadmap, we also set the benchmark for TRL level. Whether within 6 months, it should achieve the target of TRL level 6, another 6 months will be 7, 8, 9, and so on. Once the development starts, we continue to monitor whether the TRL progress is followed as planned. And this is the result of our work in terms of monitoring the status of the roadmap. So the way we implementing the roadmap, we also propose 3 stages of TRM implementation. The first stage we call initiations. Second stage we call development. And the third stage we call integration. The initial stage is the process of the development team sit down together with the top management to make sure that the purpose of having a roadmap is clearly identified so that the structure of the roadmap can be customized properly. Once that's been done, then we get to the process of development. We identify the right group of the people involved in analyzing, we identify the type of data to be used, and also the process that's going to be applied for the analysis. And once the roadmap has been developed, now it's a time to apply the roadmap. Then the issue would be how can we integrate the roadmap into ongoing process like strategic planning, strategic review process of the organization. As well as when we're talking about applying a new technique, new process into organization, there are always the resistance. So what happened with the resistance over time when the roadmap has been implemented and so on? The recent work, we work with the international communities, trying to share our lesson learned and try to come up with the way to help implement the roadmap in the organization effectively. We call sustainable roadmap implementation. So we're looking at the maturity stage of road mapping implementation in the organizations, and then try to come up with the way to help organization to assess their maturity of applying a road mapping process. I hope this episode share you with the insights of how the organization implementing the roadmap, starting from why we need to have the roadmap, what are the process of developing a roadmap, and how can we keep the roadmap alive, and at the end, how can we integrate the roadmap into the organization process effectively.